How did 9/11 affect your life, and what kind of difficulties have you experienced as an American Muslim at that time?
That was a very difficult time. I was out working. I was doing my job, and I had no idea that what was happening. I received a call on my cell phone. It was one of my brothers. His name's Rashid Al-Khatib. He called me. He said, "Are you okay?" And I told him, I said, I don't know why. And at that point, I started getting afraid. He told me, he says, "You don't know what happened." I told him, "No." I said, I don't know what happened. I said, "Please tell me quickly." He said, "Your country's been attacked. Is your family okay?" I told him, I said, "No." I said, "I don't know what's going on. What happened?" He says, "The world towers have been attacked, and the Pentagon also has been attacked." And he says, "Where are you?" And I said, "I'm right here at this place." And he drove to me. It was a moment that there was no sense in it. It was something that happened that was so atrocious that damaged us so greatly. And it was a moment that when he told me, he says, "Are you okay? And is your family okay?" It was terrifying. And then I started to think, like, all of the people, the children that were inside. There was a daycare center inside there for the people that worked there. After he took me home. He said, "You're staying with me for a few days." Because we had no idea what was happening. We didn't know where it was coming from. We didn't know what was going to happen next. I received a phone call from my brother, and he said to me, he says, "What have you done?" And I said, "Wait, hold on a minute. What do you mean?" He says, "You've brought the most shame to our family than anything. What have you done?" And I said, "Jamie," I said, "Wait a second." I said, "Hold on." I said, "What's happened?" He says, "The FBI's here. They've come here and they're asking questions about you." And I said, "Okay." I said, "There's just rest assured, there's nothing, I've done nothing wrong." He says, "You run away from the United States and you ran to this terrorist group." I said, "Just please calm down." I said, "Give me the telephone number of the FBI agent. I'm going to call them and I'm going to get this straightened out." So what had happened is the FBI agent went to my grandfather that I spoke of earlier. When the FBI agent knocked on the door, hold up their badges to an old man like that with already a pre-existing condition, he had to go to the hospital. They had to rush him to the emergency room because he hit the floor. I got the number of this FBI agent. I called it up, and I was infuriated. I was so angry at that point. And I had got on the phone with him, and I said, "Yes." I said, "This is Carly Dodrell. I heard that you're looking for me." He says, "Oh, yes, Mr. Dodrell, where are you? We've been searching everywhere for you." And I told him, I said, "Well, you being the FBI, if you have any sense, you'll contact the consulate where I'm registered, and I'm living here in Saudi Arabia. I'm not hiding from anyone." He says, "Well, we need to talk to you. We've been searching for you, and we need to ask you some questions." And I said, "Okay." I said, "But first, if you go to another family member of mine, when I get back to the United States, I will find you. I will come to you where you are at in your office, and I will teach you a lesson you'll never forget." He said, "Do you understand you're threatening me?" I said, "Yes, I understand that." I said, "I am threatening you." I said, "You will not go to another family member, friend, or anyone else that is related to me." He says, "Okay, well, we need to ask you some questions." So he starts asking about Al-Ghamdis, and he starts asking about all these people. I told him, I said, "Look, let's make a long story short. If any of my brothers are involved and were a part of this thing that happened," I said, "I'm involved as well." He says, "Wait," he says, "Do you understand what you're saying?" I said, "Yes, I understand very well." I said, "We were students, we were workers, we were, sometimes we barely had money to get food that we wanted or, go out and do things." I said, "There's no way that any of them could have had any part in this, what had happened." I said, "Furthermore, it's not even an act of Islam. It's an act of a terrorist, which is not what we are." So the conversation went a little bit farther, but there was one thing for sure, that I didn't want to, harm my family. I didn't want people to think that I was part of this. Yeah, September 11th was not an act of Islam. It's very defined in our religion that if you take the life of any innocent, if you take your own life, you're excluded, you're out. There are some people that have been misguided, that do have evil and hatred, and they are lovers of this life. They're not really followers of our religion, because our religion promotes peace and submission to one God. And it's in the name. Salam is salam, and that's peace. If our religion is named peace. How can it be that this religion is such terrorist and horrible people? If you just go and you follow the teachings and you read the Quran and you read the Sunnah of the Prophet, then you're going to know what this religion is. You cannot take this religion from what one person said or what one website said or what one preacher had published a book about. You need to go and look at it yourself, and you will find the truth. But the only way that you're going to have the truth in your heart is asking God to bring it into your heart. You must go and submit yourself, open yourself up to God. If you believe in God, open yourself up and let Him show you the right way.
What did you do after going through all these difficulties? Did you return back to the U.S.?
So after 9/11, I continued. I stayed in Saudi Arabia. Everyone loved America after September 11th. Everyone was, we feel sorry for America. They supported America. Everyone was all about, this horrible thing that happened. It's a terrible thing. That all changed, and I'll never forget the day the American forces entered Afghanistan. That day, the whole world changed. The whole Islamic community changed. I was coming out of a McDonald's that day. I was working. I came out of this McDonald's, and I have my white shirt and my tie. I'm the white guy there. I stand out. There was a group of kids standing over, and then out of that group of kids, there was a wad of spit came and landed right in the center of my tie. And I looked at that point, and I'd never been spit on before, and I just couldn't believe, such a thing just happened to me. How did I get spit on? At that point, then all these types of things, there was so many attacks that was taking place on Americans, people inside compounds that were being killed. These people, the enemies of Islam, which are the terrorists, they were seeking people out in their homes. I had to be careful at that point. All my friends, they said, you can't go out, you need to stay home, you can't go out in the streets. And at that point, my Arabic was strong enough that once I spoke Arabic, it was hard to convince people that I wasn't an Arab or I wasn't someone from Islamic country. So when we would go out, people would say, oh, hello, hey, how are you? And I would say, ish taquli, ايش تبغى? What do you want? They would say, oh, أنا آسف, أنت أمريكي? Or, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were American. I say, أعوذ بالله حسبي الله ونعم الوكيل. أنا أمريكي? حرام عليك. I would say, oh, I'm not American. And then at that point, I protected myself. Where we were waiting for a brother out in the street, there was a Caprice kept circling I saw it one time, two times. I'm always aware of what's happening around me. And especially at that time, this Caprice comes and it stops, and the guy puts a Kalashnikov, Russian-made Kalashnikov firearm out the window. The two people that were with me, they just hit the ground. And I'm standing there and I'm thinking, like, if he's going to shoot, they're dead. We're all dead. I can't run this way. I can't run that way. I looked and I said, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. He pulled the gun back inside the car and he says, you're forgiven. And then he drove away. The Shahada, I mean, it's been a protection for me since that day in the bathroom to that day facing a firearm.
Is America a suitable place to live your religion for you and your family?
A country built on accepting everyone. It's an accepting country. However, the laws and the culture, just like you go anywhere, laws are going to state that, I have the right to practice whatever I want to practice. Culture is a little bit different. We're not really culturally accepted. I've had numerous issues with my children in school, and I've told some people that I'm Muslim, never spoke to them again. I've got friends that, they're in the church and they don't want anything to do with us, and I have lost friends because of that. I can't just go up to someone and tell them that I'm Muslim. I worked for a company one time, and one of the questions that I was going to get promoted. So this promotion, the manager that was there had told me, he said, oh, your religion was in question. He says, we actually discussed your religion, and we didn't know if that it would be okay for you to be put in a position that you're going to be put in. And in America's standard, at that point, I could have owned the company. I could have, they all would have lost their job. They would have sent me a check to, support me for the rest of my life because they said that statement. But when I heard that, it opened up the channel for me to tell them, well, this is what we believe, So I look for the opportunities, and I don't want to damage the religion any farther. You'd be in the news, a Muslim guy gets issued $2 million because he was discriminated against at a job interview. I don't want to damage the religion. I want to take every opportunity that I can to spread the word. And that's what I do. We just have to be careful in the U.S., but it is, it is a place of justice. You don't have to worry. You will always get the justice. You will always be, as far as the law is concerned, but socially, not so much. While I was on my way to the Mosques of America tour, I got pulled over, and one of my headlights just went out all of a sudden. And so when I got pulled over, the sheriff's deputy, there were 3 vehicles. I don't know why there were so many. And so I said, I'm a YouTuber. Do you mind if I video? He says, oh, no, go ahead. You can. So I got the camera out, and I said I was having problems with the video. I think my camera was full, so I went ahead. I just went live. I said, okay, I'm just going to do it live. So I went live. I set the phone on the back of my car, and this police officer, he's coming up. He didn't know, they went and checked everything out. I didn't get arrested. I didn't have any criminal background. He told me, well, you need to fix your headlight. And I said, I will. I'll get it fixed. And he says, I'm curious. He says, I just have to know. And then I knew exactly what he was fixing to ask. I said, okay, here's my door. Here's my opportunity. So, all these blue flashing lights in the background, and here I am, the Harun, the American Muslim revert, fixing to make dawah to a police officer, and 7 or 8 others standing there with firearms and dogs and everything else. So he asked, he says, I have to ask. He says, what's your YouTube channel about? And then I told him. I told him exactly, I was able to deliver a message to him.
So you gave dawah?
Right. I think it was in 40 seconds or less, I believe. It was a very quick, I said, do you know about Islam? Do you know what we believe? And, he's like, no. And I said, well, do you mind if I tell you? And then, I had the chance. I just witnessed to him real quick and shook his hand, which police officers don't shake the hands of anyone because that puts them in a vulnerable spot. When I stuck my hand out, which is very uncommon, I assumed that he would just stand there and he wouldn't shake my hand. But in that video, he actually accepted my salam. He accepted my hello. Now, all of them, I said, hey guys, I told them my YouTube channel. So now from that one video, now all of those police officers, I'm sure they went and they watched it. When they watched it, the way the algorithms and YouTube work, so many other people around them that are friends with them and know them, they were suggested those videos.
If someone is curious about Islam, how should that person search about this religion?
So if you're interested in Islam, the first thing would be, you're going to look online. But for every one good website we have that's true, we have 1,000 that are built to mislead. And even among our own beliefs and our own religion, we have certain people that believe something completely separate from what our Quran and our Prophet teaches us. So I would say that going to the internet and then also finding someone that can help you, that you can ask questions that you trust. And, there are mosques everywhere. If you just go Google mosque near me, you're going to find one. You can, find a mosque and find a good brother to help you out.
What is the quality of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ that impressed you the most?
It would have to be his humanity. The humanity of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is the example, and it is the example that we all aspire to be. He was so humble and kind to everyone. I've never seen harsh words that he's given, even when he was getting on to someone, if he was telling them something that they did wrong, it was still in a way that they wanted to hear it. They wanted to hear it. It was never, like we get on to our children. It was delivered in a way that people wanted to receive. And that's the way that I like to make dawah. When I make my dawah and I tell people about Islam, is I try to think about how would the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, approach this person. This is our belief. It's a belief of submission and peace to one God. It's to strive and to be more like him is what we're all wanting to be.
What would you like to say as your final comments?
So, my final comments is that I've been given so much, and I've been rewarded with this wonderful things that I have, and now I want to give myself back. My journey is right now, and inshallah for the rest of my life, is I want to be in mosques, I want to be in dawah centers, I want to be inside your homes from your mobile device to your televisions. I want to be able to be heard, and I want my word, and which is the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be heard throughout the world and to be accepted, inshallah.
It was a wonderful interview. Thank you for coming.
Alhamdulillah.